Hi, I'm Joanne and I work at the Behavioural Insights Team, sometimes better known as the Nudge Unit. We were the world's first organization to start applying behavioral science to design better government policy. We started life in the Prime Minister's office and are now a social purpose company based in London. When we started to look into improving the way government delivers services, we realized early on that working directly with the people who were actually delivering it was crucial. So today, I'll share with you what we have learned and show you that any organization can apply behavioral insights in the workplace. Because I'm a strong believer that no matter how successful your product or service is, success depends on the people who actually work with it on a daily basis. So the good news is that, like we've heard today, there's an ever-growing evidence base about insights that show what it actually is that makes employees happier, more engaged, and better able to deal with stress. So for example, helping others at work, having a friend at work, or having a boss you get along with have all been shown to be good for staff engagement. If you want to start applying these findings in your organization, there are 3 things you need to do. First, you need to find out what really works for your organization by testing it. Then, you nudge people into doing more of that. And lastly, you focus on making it bigger, so scaling up your intervention. So let's start with finding out what works. I'll give you an example of a project we ran where we wanted to make government employees happier. That's the only goal. So we got them to meditate. And we wanted to make sure that the program we offered them was suitable, that it actually worked. So we, like we do with a lot of our other work, and Katie introduced it really well, we ran a randomized control trial. So the idea is simple. We randomly assigned half of the people who signed up for the course to the mindfulness group, and the other half was placed on a waiting list group. So they would only receive the training later on. It was a 4-week mindfulness course. And then we measured what happened to these employees who participated. Like we expected, the people who did the mindfulness course showed increases in happiness. They were much happier after the course. During the same period, the people on the waiting list group also got happier, but not by as much. And this can be for a number of reasons. So they did know in this study that we were observing them because they were filling out surveys. But it could also have been something else, like the fact that the study took place over the summer. But the most important finding is that the mindfulness group was significantly happier than the waiting list group at this point. And that was a good reason to do more studies in this area, to use larger groups, and to use more behavioral outcomes. And it shows as well that you can't just roll something out and say, oh, it works. You need to know for sure what would have happened to the other group. So now that you start to learn about what works for your organization, how do you get people to do more of that? Like with mindfulness, for example, we know that helping others is good for employees. But simply knowing that something is good doesn't mean people are actually going to do it. So we wanted to test ways to get employees to give more to charity. And we like a challenge, so we tried to get this guy to donate more. We worked with a large investment bank and raised £500,000 in 1 day. How did we do this? We tested a variation of ways of designing the choice that was presented to the bankers. So we changed the choice architecture. I hope everyone can see it, but when we sent a boring email to the bankers requesting a donation, so that's our control group, what you would normally do, 5% of the bankers donated 1 day's worth of salary to charity. When a celebrity made the same request in person, 7% of the bankers donated. 11% of the bankers donated when they were given a small pack of sweets at the beginning of the day. And 12% when they received a personal email from their CEO. But combining these last two conditions, so both the sweets and the personal email, gave the largest effect. A staggering 17% of bankers on the trading floor donated to charity. So now, let's focus on making this bigger. I'll illustrate this. So it's easy to get 25 people to change the way they deliver a service. But how about 25,000 people? So we did a project where we worked together with job center staff to develop a service where they would help job seekers plan their job search activities. So take findings from behavioral science and apply it in a job center. And there were two things we did very differently. First of all, we co-created the interventions. So we worked in job centers, developing the interventions together with the job center staff, so that we were developing a streamlined service that the employees actually liked working with. Secondly, we used the evidence, so the behavioral science, to convince the staff that it was worthwhile doing. In that way, every member of staff delivering this new service knew exactly what the science behind it was. That way, me and 3 of my colleagues changed 1 job center in 6 months. And by the end of that year, we had changed 12 job centers in 1 county. And only a few months later, our work was being implemented nationwide. So, to recap, if you want to start applying behavioral insights in your organization, focus on finding out what works by testing it, then nudging people into doing that particular thing, and then making it bigger. Thank you.